I'm Ashton Addison from EventChain for Investment Pitch Media and FinTech News Network. And today on Blockchain Interviews, we have Mati Greenspan, the founder of Quantum Economics. Mati, welcome to the show. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. I'd love if you could kick off the interview by giving a little bit of your background in the financial space. What was the vision behind Quantum Economics and how you started it?
Yeah, sure. So I've been involved in the financial markets since a child, really, and now I have a portfolio manager's license from the EU, and I'm co-author of a book called The Complete Guide to FinTech Investing. If you're familiar with the brokerage eToro, so I was there for 7.5 years and rose to be senior market analyst there. And as you mentioned, have now started a new firm called Quantum Economics, which is for analysis, advisory, and money management.
That's great. And, I want to dive right into this because there's been so much economic volatility recently, and I'm really curious on your take on the cryptocurrencies. So I'm just going to go out there and ask, do you think cryptocurrencies are benefiting from this economic crisis that we are now getting into?
Well, I think that this is not really a happy time for anybody. Even, let's say Netflix on their earnings call last week, they had more paid subscribers. They broke their record by far, but even they said, look, this is not a happy time, and this is sad times. But in the last few days, and only in the last few days, we have seen some signs that Bitcoin might be kind of a refuge for people who are a bit scared about the future of fiat currencies. Mm-hmm. So I am seeing that, but initially it wasn't. Initially, it kind of fell, but now going into Bitcoin's halving, we're starting to see signs that people are understanding the idea of digital scarcity, the idea that there's a very limited amount of Bitcoin out there in the world, and that is creating desire to own it.
Mm-hmm. And in the past, people have said that Bitcoin has been negatively correlated to the stock market. But throughout the first part of 2020, we saw positive correlation and confusing signs. Do you have any right or wrong answer for whether there is correlation and which direction it goes between the public markets and between cryptocurrencies?
Well, how long you got, Ashton? This is something that I've devoted quite a fair bit of time to.
Yeah.
But I'll give you the answer in a nutshell. Cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin are what's known as a risk asset. So all assets in the world, all financial assets are divided into risk assets and safe havens. Gold is a safe haven. It's taken thousands of years to build up its trait as a safe haven. Bonds are a safe haven because people feel like, over the last hundreds of years, the government is always going to at some point pay you back. Stocks are risk assets, for example, because a company can go bust, a company can go under, and thereby negatively affecting the stock. Bitcoin is a risk asset, and the reason being that it's so new in the world, that it's an emerging technology. So because of that, we do want to put it into the category. It's untested. Just because it's never been hacked before doesn't mean it won't be hacked in the future. Mm-hmm. The way I see it, it's one of the most secure computer networks in the world at the moment. But that still hasn't stood the test of time. So when the coronavirus hit on February 24th and jumped from China into being an international issue, we did see some slides in the stock markets, and everybody rushed to safety. They rushed to the US dollar, and basically Bitcoin took a hit as well. Mm-hmm. Bitcoin is basically been uncorrelated during its entire history until now, and now it's jumped up to its highest correlation ever. So if you look at correlation from 0 to 1, 0 being no correlation, and then -1 is absolute reverse correlation, meaning if the stocks go up, Bitcoin goes down. And then 1 being absolute correlation. If the stock market goes up 5%, Bitcoin goes up 5%. So it's usually between -0.3 and +0.3. So it fluctuates. And now it's shot up to 0.6, which is the highest it's ever been. Still not an exactly strong correlation, but it has been following that tendency of a risk asset so far. With the exception, as I mentioned, just in the last 48 hours or so, we've seen some sort of a decoupling, but we'll see where that goes. It's still quite early to tell.
Definitely, and that's a great answer, and quantifying it as well. So thank you so much, Mati. And I guess that leads me to ask about the volatility. There's been talk about how Bitcoin is much more volatile than the stock market, and so far in 2020, we've seen quite a bit of volatility in the stock market. Some touting that Bitcoin had less volatility. Do you foresee the Bitcoin's volatility to remain equal to the stock market or go down eventually as people say adoption will come, Bitcoin price will stabilize?
Yeah, and I think that the most what really threw people for a loop during this whole crisis is the price of oil, which actually managed to go into negative at some point. Several 100,000 barrels of oil were trading for minus $37, meaning you come to Cushing, Oklahoma, you take the oil, and we'll give you $37 for every barrel you take from us. Now, that just kind of puts everybody's perception of value, just throws us all for a loop, I think. As far as I see, Bitcoin could never go into a negative. There's no situation that I could imagine on the planet where somebody would actually pay you to take a Bitcoin, but rather the lower it goes. I mean, there's a very strong supportive community of Bitcoin, which is millions of people around the world. And you'll always find a buyer. At what price? That's the question. And of course, we do hear sometimes about whales who are holding, like, say, a large amount of Bitcoin, maybe because they were in from the beginning or because they have a lot of money and they bought a lot. And they can sometimes move the price on a short-term basis. However, what we've seen, and to go back to your previous question, Bitcoin can act as a safe haven for certain people. Those people, for example, who are in countries, third world countries, who don't have the benefit of a stable economy and a stable currency. If somebody was holding Bitcoin in Venezuela and they bought it all the way at the top at Bitcoin's all-time high, and then they sold it all the way down at the very lows, the all-time high was around $20,000 per coin, and then the lows are around $3,000. It took about a year and a half for it to fall that hard, for Bitcoin to fall that hard. But somebody in Venezuela who had bought it in the top and sold out at the lows, they're still ahead in Venezuela Boulevard terms.
Wow. That's crazy. And I've heard of a few other struggling countries that are also flocking to Bitcoin. And it seems like Bitcoin, at least using local Bitcoins to acquire Bitcoins through that country's currency, there's huge premiums for that. So do you see other countries potentially, throughout the next couple of years, as some countries might not be faring as well, the countries themselves will flock to Bitcoin, at least the people inside, and start using it, or more of just holding on until something happens where the nation's currency is back and able to be used?
Yeah, we see that in different geographic locations over different times in different directions. You mentioned the site Local Bitcoins, just localbitcoins.com. I think that they haven't been doing as well since they implemented more strict anti-money laundering measures. Basically, they're now requiring every single person who logs into the website to present a photo ID and verify their address, which basically means that they can then be reported to their local government, which is not something that everybody wants, especially when you're in a country with an oppressive government. Places where Bitcoin is thriving at the moment include Turkey and Iran and Zimbabwe, Argentina and Venezuela, as we mentioned earlier. But I believe that every country has a different way of accessing Bitcoin and a different type of Bitcoin market. So there's a lot of different unique markets. I think that there's hundreds of thousands of access points these days. I mean, anybody in the developing world, they have the benefit of logging into an exchange, and you can go and buy it with your credit card. But I think that most people in third world countries are going to prefer to use a back channel, like a Telegram or a WhatsApp group, to to find buyer, meet the seller, or even in a public market, or friend knows a friend type of deal.
Definitely, yeah. And there are so many people trading Bitcoin as of recently. With the price rise last week, I think the price rose about 18% in one day. The volumes of trading of Bitcoin was actually higher than it was in December of 2017 when the Bitcoin price hit around 19 to 20,000. So with the volume that much higher, not accounting for who knows how much of the volume was from bots and market makers versus retail, but I believe Binance recorded 11 billion in trading just a few days ago, and Coinbase actually went down because of the amount of volume. Just out temporarily, they were trying to funnel all their users into the platform. There's too many people. With
Right.
how important do you see this volume as a sign of positive sign and the positive sign for our next bull run potentially with cryptocurrency?
Yeah, well, volume is I mean, in any asset, when you have a strong movement that's accompanied by strong volumes, that gives more weighting to the movement. It means that that movement was caused for a real reason by a lot of people, and very strong interest. With Bitcoin, there's many different ways that you can read the volumes. My guess is that you're probably quoting a source of volume because from what I've seen, the volumes on the Bitcoin blockchain itself are quite suppressed at the moment. We're talking about $1 billion traded on the blockchain itself per day, which is we've come a long way since 2017, of course, but certainly it's been a lot higher since then. We've seen it at 2 billion, 3 billion, etc. And I didn't see that happening necessarily last week. So probably what you're talking about is exchange volume.
Yeah.
And you've got to be a bit careful about that, because some exchanges like to falsely report their volumes in order to say, hey, we've got a lot of trading happening on our exchange. You should come and join our exchange. So that's called wash trading, and it is a problem in the crypto industry specifically. So we got to be a bit careful when we look at those statistics. And actually wrote about that today in my newsletter, about where to find exactly the right volumes to look at.
Definitely, yeah, and that's super important that you mentioned that, because I'm guessing that the exchanges are touting that they have a lot of volume, but with the ability to have zero trading fees and wash trading, obviously you want to find what the real actual number is of how many people were actually buying Bitcoin and getting in. And I guess my next question is, with all this popularity around cryptocurrencies, there's been so much talk about central bank digital currencies in the US, China potentially. Do you see a light bulb going off that the US or China needs to kick into gear and get a central bank digital currency out quickly because of all of this, economic turmoil?
It would behoove them, yes. Central bank digital currencies has been, China is way ahead of the game on that. They've been actively researching Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies since 2014 and saying, how can we use this, right? And obviously, when they unveil the renminbi or digital yuan, which is a Chinese currency, Chinese central bank digital currency. If it weren't for coronavirus, it probably would have been out in the world already, but I believe that they're putting it in stages now. So that really kicked off with Libra in 2019, if you'll remember that whole thing where Facebook decided that they wanted to make a cryptocurrency. Now, these have nothing to do with Bitcoin, of course. What they're doing is they're trying to take a technology of Bitcoin and apply it to their currency in a way that they'll have a currency that is natively digital. And it's not only currencies that are going this direction. There are going to be many stocks in the future, because everything is traded digitally these days. But it's really relying on a system that is very much based in paper and is based in trust in the broker and everything like that. When you have a natively digital asset, whether it's a stock or a currency or title deed to a property, it makes trading a lot more fluid and proof of ownership and reconciliation a lot more simple. So basically, the U.S. dollar right now and for the past few decades has enjoyed from being the global reserve currency, which means that all international trade, pretty much all international trade, goes through the U.S. dollar these days. Of course, if China and Europe, Japan, or if China comes up with an alternative currency which is natively digital, it'll be a lot easier for people to come in and use that currency instead. Now, Europe, Japan, the Bank of England, and just about everybody else are trying to make their own version. So there's a race right now, and I do believe that should the United States lose out in that race, they do stand. There is a chance that they'll lose their reserve currency status.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Well, it's
Sorry for the background noise as well. I got a few kids running around here.
No problem. We're all working from home right now. Mati, thank you so much for all this information. It sounds like a very interesting race. I'm excited to see who wins. And for all the information about Bitcoin, thank you so much. If the viewers are interested in learning more about your work and your newsletter, what's the best way for them to reach out and connect?
Yeah, so just come to quantumeconomics.io. Sign up for the newsletter there. There's a bunch of other services that we have that you can check out, explore. We've really got something for everybody, from beginning traders to professionals to full-on brokers. So come and see what we've got available there. But definitely sign up for the newsletter, because everybody who does just seems to love it. We've got 40% of people who are subscribed. They're opening up every single day and reading it. So I'm sure you're going to enjoy it as well.
That's awesome. All right. Thank you so much, Mati. Let's follow up in the near future.
All right. Awesome. Have a great day.